It's the move from the city raising questions among many in the transportation community.
The licensing of tens of thousands of new private drivers without the need for training. CTV's Janice Golding reports.
We got 3 levels of training. A new driver's training is 3 days.
Abdul Mohamoud, CEO of Co-op Taxi, shows us his in-house driver training room, a room that stood empty since the pandemic started.
So when the order came to stay at home, this was like emergency brake pulled on our business.
At one point, Co-op dropped from 1,100 drivers to fewer than 100. And yet, despite a lack of demand, the city has licensed more than 40,000 new private transportation drivers without requiring them to receive any training.
Sometimes you wonder then who's running the show.
City councilors passed a bylaw in July 2019 that mandated driver training following public outcry over safety. One of those who spearheaded the charge.
I've lost my son. It's a deep, deep trauma.
Cheryl Hawks' 28-year-old son, Nicholas Cameron, died in an Uber vehicle in March 2018.
They've exposed all of us, everybody who hires a vehicle. There is no legal requirement for training right now.
In response to queries from the taxi industry's lawyers, the city sent an email of its own saying at the beginning of 2020, it issued a procurement call for third-party training providers. But
in March of 2020, with the pandemic hitting, it totally changed, and we weren't able to deliver, nor are we still, training in classrooms, training in cars. MTO just started examinations in person in June, so it is something that we're aware of. We're going to be bringing training back, but we need to determine what that looks like.
But Christine Hubbard, operations manager for Beck Taxi, says the city's explanation doesn't wash. Her company, which has done mandatory training for many years, has lost half its drivers during the pandemic.
If we already have a pool of trained drivers on the road, why would we, in breach of that bylaw, add up to 40,000 more of them during COVID, only to use COVID as an excuse for not having them trained?
In the meantime, City Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam says without an established training protocol in place, she doesn't believe the city should be issuing any more licenses to Uber or Lyft drivers.
I do not believe COVID-19 is a legitimate reason, largely because this council direction came back in 2019. We know that it was very important to City Council. We did say to city staff, get this done.
Until providers and delivery methods are selected, Municipal Licensing and Standards says it continues to ensure drivers have a Class G license and $2 million in mandatory insurance. Not enough, says Cheryl Hawks.
There's no excuse for this.
The Municipal Licensing and Standards Committee says it will be bringing a report forward to the General Government Licensing Committee in November. Janice Golding, CTV News.